Good afternoon and welcome to Sunset Rewind. At this portion, we're going through interviews with each of the head girls volleyball coaches in the Sunset League. We're so fortunate today to have the legendary Craig Pizzanti from Huntington Beach, who's had a legendary history, not only at Huntington, modern day, club, college, a long, long history.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you for being here. I'm here with my good friend, Taryn Rodriguez. If you have a question, ask Taryn. He'll have the answer.
He will.
The answer, man. I got to start this. Explain to us your philosophy for coaching, your strengths, maybe something that you need to smooth out a little bit. Just talk about you.
Yeah. Well, you know my background, right? And coming from the coaching tree that I've, come from with my, mentors, Rocky Torelli, Albert Gasparian, coming from Huntington Beach High School, Mike D'Alessandro, Tom Pestalacci, Dan Glenn, all those guys, Oilers. To me, is just, the strategic part of the game is where I think that I flourish a little bit, being able to make adjustments on the fly and see things from the other team. And then just the energy level that I bring. And you talk about, things I can work on, that's probably both. The energy level that I bring is a positive, and I think it sometimes can be something that I need to work on and control a little bit too. But that's just the hot-blooded Italian in me, I guess, that sees red sometimes. But, trying to bring it back and doing my own thing and just understand that the passion for the game. I've been doing it. First year coaching was in 92, so 34 some odd years and 33, 34 years. So if I didn't love it, I still wouldn't be doing it. And the day that I don't love it anymore will be the day that I stop. So,
right.
Yeah.
Very well put. I know that, watching you, sometimes your antics are, because you hit the nail on the head. You've got Rocky Torelli as a mentor. You got Albert. You've got Mike D'Alessandro. Danny Glenn's a little better, but he's pretty good at it too. Mm-hmm. And then Tom Pestalacci. That Huntington Beach fiery, competitive atmosphere that Huntington always has. When I was first coaching in the 70s, that's when Rocky and Albert and Dan and Mike and those guys were playing for Huntington.
Right.
And they were battles, mm-hmm. and it hasn't changed.
Yeah. And then, you take kind of the yin and the yang, right? The Rocky was always on the bench, animated and fiery, but then I also was very fortunate to help run a club with Albert and be his assistant at the college before I coached there for a year as the head coach. And, they were kind of polar opposites, not in their thinking, but just in their demeanor on the bench. And I think that the fire from Albert was always in the practice gym and vice versa from Rocky and obviously Mike as well, And I was fortunate enough to grow up playing and then coaching with some of my peers that also became, really great coaches like Isaac Owens and Jason Tanaka and Greg Wrights, guys that came through the program, and being able to bounce ideas off those guys, when we were younger coaches and trying to battle legends like you, on the sideline as well from the club perspective. So, just having that group that you can sit down and talk with after matches or when dealing with booster clubs and parents and other coaches, I think has also really helped, me become a better coach.
And you don't like to lose. That's the big thing about you, Craig. You love to win more than you hate to lose. And you've won a lot of games, 1,000 in particular. Talk to us about all the wins that you've had, whether it's at Modern Day, Huntington, etc.
I think I said this to Charlie right after the fact. 1,000 wins just means I'm getting old, and I've had a lot of good players, And
Yes.
I haven't coached any differently today. Well, maybe I have coach a little differently as far as dealing with players, but I've tried to maintain the same culture at Huntington and even at Modern Day when I was there. So when you talk about I've always been fortunate to have people who can play volleyball. They've grown up playing volleyball, and like I said, if when I start to lose that passion to push those guys, will be the day that I don't want to do this anymore, and I still have it. Even into my 50s and as we're approaching close to hopefully retirement at some point, but I still have that fire to get out there and push these guys to get better.
Love it, Coach.
One of the coaches you forgot to mention, or players, the former coaches that coached with you, Charlie Wade. Mm-hmm. I can always count on you to be, when University of Hawaii comes to play UCI, I can always count on you to be there.
100%. Yeah, when I first started coaching club in 92 and 93, I was actually coaching with Rob Machin, Jason Bilbrook, and we kind of merged our thing with both Charlie Wade and Brian Hosfeld, who I ended up going to coach at Baylor with for a few years when I was that was my first college coaching job. And those guys also just, once again, a different philosophy. And I think that, you kind of pick little things from each coach that you've coached with or against and try to build your own foundation. So, Charlie was very intense as well in the 90s and gone on for some major success collegiately, both with the women at Pacific and then now the men at Hawaii. And Brian, same thing. I mean, he was the one who gave me my first opportunity to go coach in college at Baylor as an assistant coach. And both those guys have done great things for themselves as well.
Yeah, you and I talked about this before. You're the only coach in the Sunset League that coached at the college level. Mm-hmm. What do you think that does? How does that help you as a coach?
Well, I mean, what it did, first of all, it made me realize that I wanted to be a high school volleyball coach. It's, to be honest, it was just the recruiting process was just a grind, and seeing how many great volleyball players out there in the country in high school, it kind of put a perspective on what I was doing, within my own little niche. And I believe it gave me the opportunity to see how I wanted to run my high school program. I try to run it like a college program. From a intensity standpoint, from a work standpoint, but also from the benefit standpoint that the kids get. I wanted to treat it like we're going to be outfitted the best we can be outfitted. We're going to perform the best we can perform, and we're going to have that presence that we are bigger than just our specific program. Playing for the sport, playing for our school. And when you're wearing the Huntington logo, you got to be seen in a certain way. And sometimes that's a good thing, and maybe sometimes that's a bad thing. But for whatever the reason it is. I think that when people see teams that play for me, they understand that they play for me by just the way that they go about things.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're one of the few coaches that are lucky enough to be coaching at their high school.
Yeah.
And bring that whole tradition along as you want it to go.
Yeah. People ask me about that all the time, especially when I tell them a lot of people don't know that my first job was coaching at Mater Dei on the women's side. Well, my first head coaching job.
Right.
I knew it.
And, but a lot of people, well, why would you leave? And when I first got to Mater Dei in 99, the fall of 99, after leaving Baylor, they had never won a CIF championship. And we went to 5 in a row when I got there, and we lost the first 2, and then we won 3. And, I think that we kind of built that program into what Dan has continued to, make that today, even though there was maybe a little drop off in 2005 to maybe 2008 or 9, and then on the map again, and now they're the gold standard, right, for what's going on in high school volleyball. So people ask me, why did you do that? It's like, because this is my destination job. This is where I wanted to be the whole time. And being able to come in Rockies last year at Huntington and be his assistant with his son on the team, I was around when Tony was born. So, to be able to come in and just try to live up to those expectations and especially, with him passing, it's really special to me to be where I'm at.
Absolutely. Tony Torelli is another one of those typical Huntington Beach battlers.
For sure.
Just like Rocky and Cammy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's, and he, it's not easy. I watched him go through, being coach's kid on the bench, and my son had to deal with the same stuff when he played for me, and he also probably fits into that prototypical grinder and whatever it takes to win.
We're looking for good things at Long Beach State the next few years.
Thank you. I am too. I hope
Me three.
Yeah, he's going to continue to get better. He's working real hard.
Yeah, always.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go position-wise. Can you go through your roster?
Sure.
Player-wise, I know you've had some mishaps that have happened.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a true collection of some older and some younger kids, some returners and some first-year varsity, players that are making contributions. We went and played in Iolani at the Ankang last weekend, and just got back last night. And so we're led by our 2 senior outside hitters who are both 4-year varsity kids and started part-time or full-time at any portion of the last 3 years. And that's Addison Williams and Ellie Esko. Ellie is committed to go to Montana State to play indoor volleyball next year, and Addison is going to University of Hawaii to play beach volleyball next year. So that's it's always interesting when you see the progression of freshman, sophomore, and then all of a sudden they become a little bit more leaders, and now they have to have a voice, and they were fortunate enough to play with some kids that were very vocal from a leadership standpoint, and they didn't have to do that. So watching them flip that switch and become our leaders is always a great time for me to kind of see them grow from, young girls to, adults and be able to be those leaders. So that's going to be the backbone of our team right there is the lefts. And then we have another returning starter, Charlie, Lucky Mitchell. She was started for us in the middle last year, and she's on the right for us this year, and that's kind of more of her natural position. We actually put her in the middle last year because we were in a need in that spot.
Right.
She's doing a good job for us there. She's a junior, but she has the experience of going through, these matches. And then we're going to be pretty young at some of the other spots. Our two middles that started for most of the NKing are both sophomores. And I think with a super high end, Amaya, Lesley, and Camelia, Florgan. And they're both one of them coming from Frostsoft straight to varsity this year, had a really good offseason. And then Amaya was with the varsity last year, but kind of played that third middle role. So, she's 6'1", close to 6'2", and the other kid's about 5'10", super athletic. And they're very good offensively. Just speed is getting them used to the speed of the game. We had a freshman, libero, who started pretty much the whole time over at the NKing, Julianna Ramirez. And, she's a converted outside hitter from the 14 and unders. And she did a really good job for us learning to play left back on the fly, never really done that. And then from the setting position, we have a senior, but not with a ton of experience, Lex Freund. And Lexington, has been with the varsity for 2 years, but we've had such great setting leading up into, this year. She hasn't had a ton of experience, and as she gets better, obviously we're going to get better. So that's pretty much where we are. We have a couple other freshmen that weren't with us in Hawaii, but they're gonna join the team this week because they were off doing some international volleyball stuff. Silver and Luna Eatherton. And they're definitely going to make some contributions for us as well. And we have another sophomore, Adrianna McGrath, who can play on the left, on the right, can set. And actually it's Leland Quinn McGrath, his daughter. And he's, I played against him in high school and starting to see those second generation and third generation volleyball kids come through. And she does a really good job too. Big arm, can pass the ball. She got a lot of time on the right and the left in Hawaii. So looking forward to great things from her as well.
That's awesome. I've always accused Craig of, especially early preseason matches, going 5. He always wants to get as much experience early season in playing as long as you can play and get your money's worth. The other thing is you always seem to extend the postseason a long time, which again, you're getting them more competition, more play to learn how to compete like that.
Yeah, well, the goal is to always be your best at the end of the year, right? So sometimes some of the stuff that I'm doing might not make sense to everybody from a roster lineup standpoint or from a scheduling standpoint or whatever. But we got beat up a little bit last week, but I think we're going to be better off because of it. Go to play the best competition. I've never ducked anybody with my schedule. We're always trying to play the toughest schedule we can play on the boys and the girls side. So
well, I looked just at your tournament schedule this year. You go to NKing, toughest tournament in August. Then you go to Dave Moe's, which is going to really be tough. Again. You heard Trent in his organizational stuff, really building it. Then you go to Durango.
Yeah.
So those are the 3 toughest you can go to, again, building.
Yeah, and it sometimes you make these schedules assuming that you're going to have this roster, this player, that player, and obviously we've had a couple issues going on with some of that stuff, but you know what, we're going to get them ready to play, and we're going to go out there and we're going to compete, and that's the one thing I know, we're going to compete hard, right. And whether sometimes results don't indicate what's going on behind the scenes, and as long as we're make the playoffs and we're playing our best volleyball in October, November, then we're in the right spot, and I think that'll take care of itself.
When parents used to come to me and say, "Well, a coach should be playing my daughter," and I go, "You and I are not at practice. The coach is at practice.
Yeah.
He knows what's going on."
Can you come talk to my booster club about that? No, I'm just kidding. We talk about that at length in my booster club's meetings.
I have a recorded speech I could just throw out quickly. Go ahead, Darren.
So you've been coaching in the Sunset League for quite a while, but there also is a coach who has returned to the Sunset League, Trent Jackson. What has been some of your favorite memories with Trent Jackson? Because he had a lot to say about you, so I want to hear what you have to say about him.
Well, I mean, Trent coming back is not a great thing for everybody else in the Sunset League. He does an amazing job, And have we butted heads sometimes? Of course, you know, and that's, I just think because we're both super competitive.
Yes.
You know, when you get in the, yeah, go ahead.
Probably Addison and Huntington also.
Well, and that's, obviously that's part of it, you know,
Yeah.
and Rocky used to
Yes.
talk about Addison, you know,
Yeah.
because he coached there, right,
Yep.
and then left, and so, and I think times are a little different now. You know, growing up in the '80s and '70s and '80s and going to Huntington, you know, that was a rivalry. You know, it wasn't always pretty rivalry. Whether it was, you know, I played basketball and football and volleyball at Huntington, and it was never the, you know, you always wanted to beat those guys, and whether it was, you know, Little League versus Seaview, you know, Ocean View Little League or Huntington Valley Little League versus Seaview, or whether it was rec basketball at the city gym versus Addison Community Center. You know, that was the games you got up for. You know, those are the games you got up for. So I think nowadays these kids play so many matches, and half those guys are on their club teams. You know, club volleyball wasn't super big when I grew up, so you weren't playing with guys from other schools. You were always competing against them. So maybe that's where that venom builds from with me and Addison specifically. And I think maybe Trent just gets the brunt of my Addison discourse, not necessarily against him, you know what I mean? But because he's so competitive and because I'm so competitive, it just spills over. But I'm the first one afterwards to let's go out and have a drink and talk it over, because, you know, from whistle to whistle, people might not like me, people might not like Trent, you know, Dave Huber's one of my best friends. I might not like him from whistle to whistle, right? But when the whistle's over, and I think that's what people don't understand is usually outsiders only see you from whistle to whistle, right? They don't get to know you before, and they don't get to know you afterwards. So, you know, when the antics that go on between matches and the chess match that happens between coaches, I appreciate it. You know, I appreciate the competitiveness, you know, and obviously, yeah, at times it can rub me the wrong way. It probably can rub other guys the wrong way, but having Trent back in the Sunset League just makes the Sunset League that much better, you know? You know, you look at the carousel of coaches that has been, and that's what Dave and I talk about this all the time with, you know, we've both been at our respective schools, LaSalle and Huntington, for the better part of 20 years, you know, but you've seen that rotating CDM and Newport and Addison. You've seen that rotation of coaches kind of going through Fountain Valley. The one consistent that we've had in the Sunset League is Dave at LaSalle and me at Huntington over the last time. And I think that's the continuity that we're trying to build, and the way we can build the culture we want is because of that.
I was going to say, Dave, you and Dave coach with one another in club volleyball. Talk about your relationship with Dave, even though you two are on opposite sides when Huntington and LaSalle face one another. And I've seen those antics from you and Dave.
Well, yeah, and you know, that, I would expect nothing less, you know, and we're the first to talk to each other about, you know, there's no secrets. All of our girls know all his girls, and I know him, and he knows what to expect out of me. But it's the same thing. We'll joke, and you know, it's winner gets to buy dinner afterwards because that person's going to get to have bragging rights for the next till we play again. You know, so you know, yeah, it's all in fun for me. You know, and I think that's part of it. Whether it's, you know, me playing, me coaching, whether it's fantasy football, whatever it is, I'm just going to be ultra competitive. And you know, there's a rule in the Pisani house: no one plays games with Dad, or no one plays games with Craig. You know, the Monopoly doesn't happen, and there's no, you know, I'm not allowed to play poker with the family reunions because people get so mad that I'm so competitive. So, you know, if I can rub another coach the wrong way, so be it. You know, but I'm not going to apologize for that. But I'm also never going to do anything without integrity or whatever. I'm playing it the way that we play it. You know, yeah, and that's, you know, that's just the way it is.
Every program has good assistant coaches following. Let's go over your coaches.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's another reason we've been so successful is we've had the same coaches for a long period of time with me. You know, I'm lucky enough to have everyone on my staff either played for me or played at Huntington. You know, whether it was played for me in club or played for me at Huntington or went to Huntington. I'm lucky enough to have Rory Jones, who was a standout volleyball player at Huntington and is the head men's coach at Irvine Valley College right now. And he's been with me for, you know, at least 5, 6, 7 years. Allie Torline played for me, went to CIF championship game with me as a player, went on to coach in college, and now is back coaching with me. She's our head beach coach as well. Chelsea Olson went to Marina, but played for me in club, and has been with us now, boys and girls, for 6, 7 years as well. And Cami Sanchez just left the program, but she played for me as well. And taking her spot is Sydney Murray, who also played in the CIF championship game at Huntington for me.
I was there.
She does a great job she does our boys freshman team and now coaching with the JV. And then I have the Bilbrick sisters with my freshman team, Morgan and Kendall. And that's obviously a popular or unpopular name in the volleyball world, depending on who you ask. But they do a great job as well, and I just, we're not as concerned about winning every match at the lower levels as we are teaching the way that the varsity does things. So when you have people who have played for you and played in the system and been a part of the system for a long period of time, we might lose some matches at the freshman level because we're trying to do it the way we want them to do it when they're on varsity, even if they can't do it yet. And I know that was always your big thing when you ran Orange County, right? It was, we're going to do it the same way from the 12s to the 18s. And by the time they're 18, you're not reteaching every year.
Right.
So that's our popularity and that's our style.
I've always looked at like club volleyball as a club when you're that way, when you structurally have it so everyone's doing the same technique all the way up to the top. There's a lot in club volleyball now, especially you see different groups of teams all doing something different.
Right.
No continuity being taught.
Well, and that's something that when Albert and I put together, and Gus Culver and Isaac were in on that too, the first year of Golden West. You remember when first year at Mater Dei, and Albert started running the club, and we all joined in with him, and we tried to sit down and create a handbook of how we want to teach things. And we knew even though it wasn't the 12s weren't going to be able to do the same stuff as the 18s, but we wanted to try to at least verbalize the stuff the same. I know you did the same thing. I know that, Roger Goodwin at Ichiban did the same thing. And,
Exactly.
Sonny at
Molly Kavanaugh.
Molly Kavanaugh, exactly. Yeah. So I feel like that, and I could go on for hours about how club volleyball has changed over the years, and not necessarily for the good in my opinion, but it's a necessary evil because it's 7 months of getting better, or 7 months of repetition, so to speak. So, we try to make the continuity the same at our level, and we don't sit down daily and have meetings, but we'll sit down in the summer and talk about, from me, the top down on, hey, I want this kid to be doing this because this is where I see her in 2 years when she's on the varsity at the freshman level, and then the same thing with the JV coaches. We need this kid to move to this position, and that was the first thing I did when I came in and took over at Huntington. Allie Torline, who I know played for Orange County as well for you back in the day. She was in the middle because her dad was, they saw her dad and he was, 6'6", 6'7", and whatever it was. And I'm like,
former pro football player.
Yeah, we need to get that kid out of the middle because she's 5'9" now and she's probably done growing. So let's get her to the right. And, she went on to have a great high school and college career too. So, those are the things that we try to talk about as a staff to make sure that there's some
Allie's such a great girl.
Yes, she
great
is.
Role model for the program.
100%. And that's why, she will always have a spot, and hopefully she's the one when I'm done that will take over.
Yeah.
That's kind of on the women's side.
That's awesome. You mentioned Albert Gasperi, and I'm not sure people really understand how much of a foundation he was in building junior volleyball. How many things he did.
Well, junior volleyball and, even the open stuff, having to be the the voice of Raymond Construction for so many years and defend all the things that happen there, right?
Scary.
Because you got a lot of personalities with
and a lot of coaches.
Oh, yes.
I want to know what goes on in the huddle at the timeout.
Well, I guarantee you there wasn't a lot of silence going on in those huddles.
No. There's 12 guys talking at the same time.
Right. Albert is such a great friend, and it's 15, 18 years my senior, but at the same time, has taught me so much. He got me involved in the AVCA. I think I was one of the original grassroots person through the AVCA when they put that position on the board, and just got me, I just remember when we were coaching club together, or when I was coaching at Golden West College with him, walking through a convention center with Albert, don't have plans afterwards because you're stopping every 30 seconds because everybody wants to talk to you because you have so much knowledge. So he has been, once again, and to have him come back and coach with me on the guy's side for Jake's.
Explain that to us.
Okay.
He was on the bench last year.
2 years ago.
That's 2 years ago.
Yeah, 2 years ago. He came in, Albert retired as, the vice president of Golden West College and made his way up from coach to athletic director to dean to vice president. And when he retired, he was in my wedding. He's been around me since I was in high school. Those alumni games used to be the greatest days for us as a player at Huntington, playing against all those guys. And Jake was getting better and better, and I asked him if he would, and I think Patty actually asked me to ask him so we could get him out of the house a little bit after he retired, but his wife. But I asked him if he wanted to come in and help coach the guys Jake's junior year, and he said he would do it 1 year and then reevaluate. And he was done after the junior year. Kids and parents and stuff. High school volleyball has changed a lot, and I don't think, Albert was a my way or the highway type of guy, and you kind of be able to be a little bit more bend and don't break nowadays as a coach. But he was ready to be done after the junior year, and I think actually Jake asking him to come back for his senior year is the reason he came back to do another year. So it was to have that knowledge and actually to take a lot of the pressure. He was in charge of the setters, and
it's hard to be a dad and coach your son, and especially a setter.
Yes, especially one who is just like you.
Yeah.
As far as everything, and it was good because I remember trying to do that with Tony.
Yeah.
When Rocky with Tony senior year, and trying to just take a little bit of pressure and being that liaison between coach and player, and me and my son can be a little bit of a hothead sometimes, and having Albert speak with him and just tone it down and get him to understand the words and not necessarily the delivery was really important to that process, and really important to me to have him, with me during those times. It was great.
Right.
It was great.
The thing that I love about Albert is, a lot of people can be your friend when things are going well. In my life, I've had some few hiccups along the way, and Albert was always the first guy to send me a card, to make a phone call. He's always there
100%
when you need him, and that's a sign of a true friend.
Yeah, he is that for sure. And I think and maybe that's that Huntington Beach High School bond, right? And I say that it extends past that, but the bond that we have as Oilers and the tradition that Rocky created that I'm just trying to keep going, that aura of being an Oiler. And like I said, the alumni game was always our greatest day as a player, because we got to see where we stood up against the X guys. And, I remember even once I graduated, we always used to have the alumni game, but then we'd have the graduates of the 70s play the 80s just so we could get our chirping in for an extra one extra day, So, and then, also on the guys' side, I know we're talking girls volleyball now, but bringing Drake Evans in, and he helped with the girls last year too. Another guy who played for arguably, I know there's a lot of great high school volleyball teams, but maybe the greatest high school volleyball team ever. And have him come in and be just that voice of someone who played for me, but still young enough to, and I think that's what Allie does too, is still not so far removed from being a player, but at the same time has gone through it and played at the highest level of high school volleyball and coached by me. And they both say that I'm so soft now because when I coached them, it was a lot different.
Yeah.
Right. It was
You've changed.
Yeah, exactly. So having that group coming in, and like I said, Drake is definitely a key to our success as well.
Yeah. Well, I have to commend you because you create all these uniforms and color combinations. And working with orange and black is a very, very tough combination. I know I went to Orange High School.
Yes.
Orange and black also.
Well, we just like to say that every day is Halloween around Huntington.
In a scary way or a good way?
Both. It was Charlie Wade when he was at Pacific, and they were the same color scheme. And he used to always tell me, black is our color, orange is trim, and if you can keep that. But with the guys, they like to be out in the forefront. So we go all orange with the guys.
You mean the neon orange uniforms you had last year?
Yes. Yeah. So, that was something that came, in those 2012, 13, 14, 15 teams where we would wear black and white all year, but when the playoffs rolled around, we would get to the all orange, and it was kind of something special that we had. And whether you're home or away, the orange is either a dark or a light, so you can kind of wear them all the way through, right? So, color schemes are more important for the girls. I think they call it fit now, right? With the younger guys, they call it my fit. So I'm learning. The Hawaii trip is always good for me to catch the lingo of what we call it.
Spend a lot of time with them.
Yes, exactly. Maybe too much.
Yeah. That's great. Who do you have this week?
So we traveled yesterday, so we're just going to get a serve and pass in today. Just go for an hour today, and then we'll practice Wednesday. We play at Yorba Linda on Thursday, at Lakewood on Friday. So back to back. I want with the league expanding, more league games. We start earlier, and then the Los Al match we had to move because we're both going to Durango, so it was scheduled on that Friday of Durango. So we'll actually play Los Al early this year. We play them the first league match and the last league match this year. So
I saw that.
So we play them in like 2 weeks. So there just wasn't a ton of time to get some non-league matches in. We're still looking to add a couple at this point. Saturday matches or varsity only matches, just because we only have two. These are our only two non-league matches aside from the tournaments.
Right.
So we'll get them in early, and hopefully we can give the girls a little bit of rest, during some of the weekends. But two back-to-back this weekend.
We get different coaches from different programs here. What's your philosophy on lifting? Do you guys still lift throughout the year, or
We don't lift as a group with the girls. Drake is actually going to be running our lifting program for the guys this year. It's with the summer stuff, and I would love to add it in. I would love to have it part of the program. It's just, with the way our school schedule works, so many of these kids are taking hybrid classes, and they're in class before school certain days of the week, and that's really the only time we have to get in the weight room because of football, and so it's usually before school. So we don't lift with the girls as a team. I know a lot of them are doing it on their own with personal trainers and stuff like that.
Right.
But with the guys, we get in them before school.
How many girls transition from beach to indoor as opposed to indoor to beach?
Well, we don't. We have a few beach-only girls at our school.
Right.
And then most of our indoor girls do play on the sand, not always like club or things like that, but they'll play on our sand program.
Right.
And we try to use that as our conditioning program in the spring.
Right.
For the indoor team. So it's whether you are competing or not, we try to get them out there at least practicing on the sand, just to keep the numbers up for those guys and to give them some competition during the spring. But like Ponchak didn't play club indoor after her sophomore year, and Addison
Taylor
now.
Ponchak.
Taylor Ponchak, who went to Stanford
beach,
this year, played for me. So we're starting to see that a little more often. They usually continue to play indoor volleyball for high school, but they're not playing it year round. They're spending more time on the sand. And I just think the opportunities that are opening up because of Title IX to scholarships to play on the sand is so great. And you don't have as much necessarily competition because half the country doesn't play on the sand.
Right.
So. I think it's a good thing. I mean, that was all. We didn't have club when I played, but Rocky always encouraged us to be down playing, and we always played on what is now First Street, but we called it Lake Street back then.
Right.
We were all playing.
Right.
We were all playing down there at the pier all summer long, and I think that's where you get better, especially playing against the older guys.
And competing.
And, back when we played, it's just like the city gym playing basketball. If you lost, you sat there for like an hour and a half waiting to play again, right?
Yeah.
So you go down to the beach now, or nowadays there's so many courts, right? If you lose, you just go onto another court and find another game. When we would go down there'd be 4 courts.
Which is the old way was the best way, because now you're competing
well, you have to
stay
compete,
on.
you have to compete or you don't get to play. Exactly. So,
and I'm sure you do too. I get a lot of parents especially, but young kids that go, I think I just want to specialize on the beach. And I go, Misty May and April Ross played indoor club all the way through their senior year.
Yep.
And they turned out pretty good.
Yep.
And I think doing both only helps your game both ways.
Alex Kleinman too.
Yeah, the first well, first of all, I think if you want to look back on that, go back to there and play devil's advocate, there was no beach college back then, right? So their opportunities to play in college were still going to be indoor.
Great point.
But the first time I ran into that issue with a club player where the college coach was saying, I don't want you to play indoor club your senior year, was Cami Sanchez. Right, she played for me, and she was a great indoor and beach player.
Yes,
and went on to play at UCLA, and then finished her career at Grand Canyon. Right,
yeah,
great indoor, maybe a little undersized, but could have gone to play indoor or beach if she wanted to in college, but maybe not at the same level. Right, so but that was kind of the first time, and so that she graduated maybe 6-7 years ago. So that was kind of the first transition where you were kind of seeing people specializing in beach only, Mm-hmm. I think maybe it's almost turned a little bit too much full tilt, because you're starting to see kids not as good as Cami, right? Like kids that are tweeners that potentially might not even be able to play college beach volleyball, right?
Or
indoor,
yeah.
But they're turning to beach only. And when you think about it, it's maybe less competition, maybe less training, maybe a shorter season. So those kids that are the tweeners are like, well, this is a lot easier for me to do this, and maybe I'll do that. But, I don't have a problem with a kid not playing indoor club as long as they're willing to put the time in to catch back up, and that, even with Ponchak, who was so good, right? I mean, started as a freshman for us and played 4 years on the varsity. It would still take her 3-4 weeks to get back into the indoor game.
There's a different timing.
It's just a way different timing.
Yeah.
And, and she, luckily for her, she was an opposite. So there wasn't a passing difference, right? It was just hit and block.
Yeah.
But her blocking took some time to get back to where she needed to get to. So, obviously you are dealing with a catch-up effect, but the better athletes catch up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It's the kid that might not be the greatest athlete that's trying to do that you find the hardest.
Also, sounds like you have really defined what they need to catch up with.
Yeah.
What are the skills they need to
For sure.
do
It's
to
obviously
catch up?
much harder for someone who's a 6-rotation receiver.
Yeah.
Because you're not passing the ball to the net anymore. On the beach, you're passing it more straight up and down. And I think the way that the offense on the beach has changed has helped, because now, when you and I were playing, everything was straight up and down, twos in the middle, right?
Yep.
And now they're running the shoot to the pin, and they're calling different plays and running behind,
Hitting on two.
Yes, the option play. So
Yeah.
you're seeing a lot more of that stuff. So I think that's helped kind of keep it more similar to the indoor game.
Right.
But it's still different. So it's just, there is a little bit of that learning curve that has to go back on.
And I like that about the beach game.
I do too.
That we're creating more things to do.
Yes.
More styles.
Well, just like when even 10 years ago, the BIC wasn't like it is today. It was a pipe, right?
Yeah.
We weren't running the 40, we weren't running the back BIC. All the stuff that we're running. It was there's a lot less combination plays because the BIC has kind of changed that. That is your X,
Yeah.
right?
Well, also bunch blocking.
Right, swing blocking.
Yeah, swing blocking.
Yes.
So it's tough.
Yeah, for sure.
So, Taryn, you've been so quiet so far. Go
Well,
ahead.
Craig, there's something I really want to know. It seems like your team is just so consistent on making the playoffs. It kind of reminds me of like Stanford or Penn State. How is your team so cerebral year after year and so consistent? Without spilling too much.
You're not trying to announce or jinx me right now, are you?
No.
Okay, because I'm going to knock on wood right now.
I think he is.
I think he is too. No, hey, I'll tell you this. We've been super fortunate to have really good athletes, right? We've had really good volleyball players, and but this year the Sunset League is really good. We're gonna go out and play our butts off to make sure that we continue that streak, right? But Los Al is good. Newport's obviously really good. Addison is much improved. Corona Del Mar is much improved. Marina's really good. There's some teams, right? And we got to bring it every single night. So I think, like what you said, what we talked about earlier, the preseason schedule is hopefully setting us up to have things slow down a little bit when we get to league, to play the back-to-back, so we can understand when the playoffs roll around, even though you don't play back-to-back, but having to play good teams back-to-back. And I've always prided myself on us playing our best volleyball at the end of the year, and so you gotta deal with things, and there's always going to be bumps in the road. And I think the culture we have is always next man up, next woman up, right? So if things go bad and someone gets sick or someone gets hurt, we got to have the next person prepped and ready to go, And I think that a lot of the stuff that we're doing from a success standpoint really has to do with game preparation, right? And I think that you asked me, the very first question was, what is your philosophy and what do you do well? And I think that trying to find the weakness in the other side of the net. And I think that once things become, and I know you know this as a coach, Charlie, once you become confident in yourself, you can start to worry about the other side. And I think that from a coaching perspective, I'm confident in what we're going to do. So we're going to focus on the other side of the net. And I think the game starts to slow down for you. If I'm worried about not doubling a ball when I'm setting, I'm probably not worried about where the blockers are on the other side, right? So as I become more confident in my skill, I can start to worry about blocking schemes on the other side of the net. Are they switch blocking, where the best attacker is, those sorts of things.
Thing you haven't mentioned yet, and I know you've won a lot of games because of your decisions and your understanding of winning those points, which goes way beyond your players. That's you, and that's what's really consistent over the years. And with that, people they're resentful because, you're doing a great job of doing that.
Thank you. I've always been we win. When we win, it's the girls or the guys, and when we lose, it's on me, and I'll always take the blame. But I would like to think that I'm putting them in the right position, and that's something we preach in practice. If you're doing it like we tell you, and I'm wrong, that's fine. but let's not try to second guess and do it your way and have it be wrong, because then we're going to fall back on our training. We're not going to flip that magical switch in games and start to play better. We're going to fall back to our training level. So we try to intensify what we're doing practice-wise to make sure we're ready when those moments are biggest.
And what else can we expect from your team this year, one tournament in? Because, again, it's only one tournament, and championships are won in November and not in August.
Well, you're gonna expect to see us play hard, and you're gonna expect to see us. Our motto is 1% better every day. So if we come back 6 days better from when we left from Hawaii, then we're in a better spot. You're gonna see different young kids start to step up. I have a feeling that's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. The roster today and the lineup today might not be what the roster and the lineup looks like in a month from now or 2 months from now. So we're gonna do our best to prep everybody and find the right combination. It's not always the best 6 athletes that are on the court. It's the best 6 athletes from a chemistry standpoint to try to find that momentum and that mojo we're looking for. So I think that's the one unique thing about our sport. First of all, momentum is huge, right, in our sport. And secondly, you don't have to be the best player. You got to be the best player for your specific role, and we're always trying to define roles. And that's one of the things too, I think, with the way I coach and the way our program runs is every day we're trying to earn spots in practice. And the lineup today, because it might not be the same, I think kids are constantly trying to work because they're trying to prove themselves into the lineup. And I've gone a whole season and changed the lineup right before the playoffs, just because I think that maybe it's something the other coach hasn't seen, or things like that. So, we're going to do our best to just grind. And I think that, my son plays at Long Beach, and their terminology they use there is grit. And I think that we're trying to add a little more grit to this group as well. There are a lot of nice girls. We need to find a little bit of a mean streak for them.
Never can have too much grit in volleyball.
Exactly.
There's a lot of, I know you're this way too. I will chart practice scores, comparative scores. And sometimes your 11th or 12th player ends up starting because they win all the games in practice.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for the chemistry you're talking about.
There's something. Yeah. I'll tell you this, and I know that when, and I did this on purpose when my son came into the program, because we charted every single drill, every single competitive drill, because I didn't want anyone to come to me and say he's starting because he's your kid. Yeah. And when we went through practice, he would win 65% of the drills, and with 3 setters. So the other 2 were split in 35%.
Right.
So it became quite obvious, with the numbers. But we're starting to chart our serve receive in practice. We're starting to chart different things in practice and find out who's winning. And I'm not don't get me wrong, I'm not a cauldron guy. I'm not going to chart and give points for every specific skill, but there is something to be said for winning, right? Because when it comes down to it. And that's the one thing I saw with Julianna this weekend, right? Our freshman kid who started at libero for us, was the moment didn't look too big for her, even at 14 years old. You could see in her eyes that even though she wasn't making all the plays every time, she felt super comfortable out on the floor.
Right.
And so those are the things you can't measure with numbers sometimes. You can kind of just see. And so in the competitive drills, it's not necessarily that I passed a 2.6 or a 2.4. It's that my team won. And so we're definitely trying to, I agree with you on that. We're trying to find the group that wins.
And that changes over the season.
It definitely does.
As people start to figure that thing out.
For sure.
How about video? There's nothing, you can say whatever you want.
Yeah. It doesn't lie.
Video does not lie.
I will tell you this. I became, and also obviously the video systems and data that we have now is more than we've ever had, right? So we film every match. We have a built-in Hudl cam behind our court now. We built in a second one that I've been charting some practices, videoing some practices too. And you can get into a rhythm where you see what you want to see during the game, right?
Yeah,
but when you break it down and you go back and watch it later, you're like, okay, to me, I thought that kid hit 400 watching this match. And you watch out, and you come back and it's 160, right? Yeah. So sometimes you see what you want to see through rose-colored glasses. Yeah. So going back and watching film, I'm a big advocate of. We haven't had it as much. I haven't had the team watch so much video as the coaching staff watching film. And I think sometimes it just becomes too much for them. And I know that if they go on to play in college, obviously it's going to be a big part of what they do.
Right.
But I try to simplify it and just let them know what I saw. And if it's something where, hey, from a setting standpoint, let's say, you're as soon as the ball's passed, you're leaving the net to have to come back to the net.
Right.
They might not realize it until they see it.
Yep.
Or your left arm's not up when you're swinging. You need to get that left arm up before you swing. No, I am, coach. No, I am. But now we go back and we can see some video. Okay, now you can see it, so now maybe we can work on it. So
I always used to like the coaches watch video early, let the players watch video late.
right. Well, we're a Hudl school, so we have Hudl.
Yeah.
And I know that was just they
Explain Hudl.
So Hudl is it's a video analysis system, and they actually just purchased Ball Time. So now those two they were competing, so now they're together.
I didn't know
okay.
that. Yeah.
So basically, it'll film every match, and then they'll break it down for us instead of me having to sit there and chart it. And they send it back to us, and it's statted and broken down, and I can say, hey, I want to see all of rotation 1. Boom, 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 rotation 1. We're struggling. And it'll tell you side out percentage, first ball side out percentage. It's basically all the stuff that we used to look for, but would take us 12 hours to break down.
Yep.
It comes back to you done.
Right.
You can have hitting charts for each player. Say, I want to see number 12 on the left and show where their spray chart is.
Hitting charts on service receive,
Yes.
hitting
Transition, you can break it down
everything.
by whatever.
And that's what's really
Yes.
special about
So
it.
when we start to use that, the kids all have access to it as well.
Right.
So they're also using it. They can say, I want to see all the kills that I had, all the errors that I had from this specific rotation, and they're using it to make their highlight videos to send to college coaches now. So it's really helped us, and they have access to it at all time.
Right.
They can go in and watch film whenever they want. And the cool part as a coach is I can see how long they've been watching.
Yeah.
So if, hey, everyone go home and watch film tonight on, we're getting ready to play Newport.
Yeah.
Go home and watch the first Newport match. Come back and tell me what you've learned. And they all come back and tell me stuff, and then I look and I said, this kid watched video for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You have homework.
see that, yeah.
So I think it's a great tool, and it's just the way that the game has changed, right? It's the same stuff we were doing where I would have to sit there with a VCR and rewind and do this and rewind and do that and watch the same play 13 times to get the same
Oh,
results.
I got the wrong number.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let me see that again.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think the cool part about them merging with Ball Time is all AI done. Hudl used to be someone breaking it down for you.
Right.
So I think that, it's done even a lot faster, and it's done in live time
Right.
now.
Right. We talked a little bit about college. How active are you in their college pursuits?
Well, I mean, I try to be, something that I've prided myself on as a high school coach after coaching in college is being super honest with the college coaches. Like, I'm not going to overplay somebody and say, hey, this kid can start for you at this level when I know they can't, right? Because I want them to be able to trust me.
If you want to go back to them
right.
again.
When I have a kid that
Yeah.
I think, so whatever it may be. So I feel like because I've kind of stood the test of time and been doing this for a long time, I feel like I have the respect of those college coaches. So if it's somebody that I fully support or whatever, I will make those phone calls as a high school coach. I know that the club stuff now has become so important with that, because obviously it's a much longer season, and it's, there's, as a college coach, they get to the club stuff. Yeah, exactly.
Dollars and cents.
Dollars and cents, right? Recruiting services.
Right.
We missed our calling, Charlie.
Yeah, I know.
We definitely missed our calling.
We've been doing that for years.
I know, we've been
and
doing
never
it for
got
free.
paid.
We've been doing it for free.
For free.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pennies on the dollar.
Yes. I feel like while it's definitely important, I feel like I've now been the other number that people have been calling as a high school coach. Now on the club side, I feel different. I feel like I'm pushing and pushing and pushing more, but again, at the right level. I'm not going to send someone where I don't think and on the other side too, I don't want to put them in a position where they're going to be bored with the volleyball either. I want them to play at the highest level they can play at. So I feel like I'm that voice that if they want an honest opinion, and I get coaches calling me for kids that don't play for me,
Yeah.
but that I've played. Like
But
tonight.
see, you've done that over the years.
Correct.
You've earned that respect.
Build our relationship, and so I'm definitely still active, but as this cycle of college coaches is rolling over too, I'm starting. I'm looking at. I don't know who that is, and then I got to go back and find out their tree of where they came from, and so it takes a little more research sometimes on my part, But I think I'm still involved and active and relevant,
Yeah, you're a strong personality, and you need to be active in this.
Yeah, I'm going to tell it like it
Help your
is.
kids.
I'm going to tell it like it is for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
More, Taryn?
Travis. You went to Hawaii. What were some of the more memorable places that you went to when it came to visiting Hawaii?
The non-volleyball.
Yes.
The non-volleyball.
Yes, non-volleyball. Non-volleyball.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I can't even remember the amount of times I've gone to this tournament, whether, Mater Dei or Huntington or whatever. We've gone every other year pretty much since I started coaching. And we always start the trip with the Diamond Head hike. That's just the first thing we do. And as I'll coin a Charlie Brand term, we got to get the travel out.
Yes.
Got to get the travel out first thing, whether it's this year we went the day we got there, went there that night, got rid of some of the sitting in the plane for 5-6 hours, and or in some years we do the very next morning after we travel. So we'll always do the Diamond Head hike. We get a nice picture at the top, and it's always one of the more memorable. And then with the girls, because it's summer and the waves are down, we always head to the North Shore and go to Waimea Bay, and they get to jump off the rock and the whole thing. So we hit the little Haleiwa. We hit Haleiwa on the way back, and they go to the shaved ice spot, and they get to Matsumoto's, yes.
Yeah. Rainbow Drive-In.
Yes, we did the Rainbow Drive-In, of course. So we do the touristy stuff, and I've always been a huge advocate, and especially now going through it as a parent also, right? And I talk to my son about it all the time, but the wins and losses are awesome, right? The volleyball itself is great, but the memories are made with the other stuff, right?
Oh, yeah.
They're always going to, we'll have senior night, and I guarantee you all the seniors are going to say their most memorable moment will be the trip to Hawaii, right? Yeah. So, it's not always the league championships or this or that, because those are going to come and go, and they're going to play so much volleyball in their lives, but it's the memories and the friendships that they build during that time. So, while I tell the girls it's a business trip, we still have some fun. So yeah, definitely those are some of our
bonding too.
For sure.
Just doing all that.
And that's why the tournament this time of year is so great, because it's a prelude to the rest of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I texted you right when you were on your hike. It's like, oops.
Yeah, you did. That's all right. You're giving me some good updates. I appreciate the updates. all the time.
That was my bad for texting you during
Karen's
that hike.
always got updates.
He does.
All
It's
the
good.
time.
It's good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Craig Pizzanti, thank you.
Thank you
so much for taking the time. Thank you so much for what you've done for volleyball in our area.
Absolutely.
Both in the clubs and with Huntington Beach High School and Mater Dei.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
we hope to have you back again. We're going to try and highlight players and coaches throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Love being here, and thank you guys for all you do.
Absolutely. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube page. We would really appreciate that. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers, and with your help, we could definitely do it. Follow us on social media on X, Instagram, and on TikTok. Thank you to James Krupe for being a part of the production team today. Thank you to Sam Bray, the man behind the glass. Thank you, Craig Pizzanti, for being here, and thank you to Charlie Brand. For everyone here at Sunset Rewind, this is Taryn Rodriguez and Charlie Brand signing out. Take care, and we'll see you next time.